Today I'm going to be starting the process of converting most of the rear suspension and the rear end of my 2002 to handle a lot more power. The chief upgrade is going to be switching from a small case diff to a medium case diff, specifically this one. It has a 3.25 ratio. I'm also going to install a third clutch. I also wanted to cure several other issues that these cars are known for having, chief among which is the tendency for stub axles to break. This isn't particularly common, however this car is going to make significantly more power than it did stock. When a stub axle breaks, since there's only drum brakes in the rear, the entire wheel falls off. Another thing I wanted to cure is trailing arm failure. Several companies build a Welding kit to reinforce your stock trailing arms. However, this still doesn't cure the issue with the stub axles. So, what I want to do is, at the same time I swap in the medium case, a friend of mine is going to fabricate a custom subframe for me to allow me to use E30 trailing arms, which are significantly stronger. It also solves the issue of a broken stub axle. E30 axles, which I'll also be using, they input into the drive hub and the bearing in such a way that if the splines give way or if the axle breaks, the wheel won't fall off. At the same time, I'm also getting E30 rear discs. So the plan for today is mostly welding. That brings us to this. This is a kit that allows me to reinforce my E30 trailing arms even further. I have these gussets here, which will form, I guess, sort of a web between the two branches of the trailing arm there. I also have these struts, which are going to reinforce from my mounting point here to the trailing arm itself. It'll kind of triangulate it and make it stronger. And then I also purchased this, which is a bit of an extra in the kit, and this is for reinforcing the sway bar mounts. So these will not only be significantly stronger than 2002 trailing arms, they will also be significantly stronger than stock E30 trailing arms. So the first step on these is I'm going to go ahead and strip off everything that doesn't need to be here while I work. So that would be my parking brake shoes here. Hopefully I can get my hubs off without the press. Pull off the brake lines so they're not in the way. Get rid of all of this ABS type stuff. Not going to need any of that for the 2002. So we'll go ahead and get that done real quick. So both arms have now been stripped as far as I can get them at home. I left the wheel bearings in place. I'm probably going to have to get those at the shop. All of this junk came off, and now we can get these cleaned up. They cleaned up pretty well, so let's get them inside. So now I'm just inspecting all the welds, looking at seams, looking for any cracks in the metal or anything like that. And it looks like I made out pretty well when I bought these. They seem to be pretty nice now that they're cleaned up. It is going to take me a little bit longer before I can weld them though, because at some point somebody put some type of undercoating and I want that gone before I start getting these hot. Alright, so we got these cleaned up pretty well. There's a lot of sealant on them. It looks like maybe that was a factory coating. I'm not really sure. Somebody that knows more about E30 stuff could probably fill me in on that. So now it's not going to burn and smell terrible in my garage. And now I'm going to go ahead and bust out the wire wheel and get these closer to being ready to weld. Alright, I'll bust out my welder. As far as instructions for this, I couldn't find any, so I'm gonna do it the best way that I think will work, and See how it turns out. Now we're going to see if we can get a little bending action. I do remember that the website said to get it positioned how you want and then bend it to contour to the arm. So maybe some clamps. We're just playing connect the dots. There's one gusset complete. Time to install the other one. Now it's time to play connect the dots again. Obviously not beautiful, but I think it's going to be plenty functional. So the fitment on these, gonna have to grind them to fit. I now have both braces for my shock mounts installed. They came out good enough, and now it's time for the last piece on these. I looked at some pictures online of kind of how it's supposed to look. It doesn't really line up if I stack them on top. I think what I'm going to do is flatten out this tang here and then just lap weld it. The fitment isn't very good. It doesn't really butt up flush here, but I can make it work. I'll just turn up my wire speed and cheat a little bit. Hey, that one actually isn't trash. Nice. And there we have it. 2 DTM style reinforced E30 trailing arms. Now I'm going to send these off to the guy I know that builds custom subframes. And so I went ahead and pressed out the bearings, wire wheeled the rest of the paint off. They'll probably need one last little blasting before they're perfectly clean and ready for powder coating, but I'm going to go ahead and get this stuff packaged up, sent out, and then hopefully sometime pretty soon I will have a custom subframe and trailing arm set up for the 2002.